Hello and good morning. My name is Haley Pierce, and this is my week 4 PowerPoint for Business 604. I am a little sick right now, so please just bear with me if I sound a little funny on this video. I will do the best that I can. So today I'm going to be talking about sensitivity analysis and how businesses use it when making capital budgeting decisions. So before we get into sensitivity analysis, I think it's really important to understand the overall goal of financial management. The main goal is to more or less maximize the value of the company, but still make smart financial decisions. Financial managers, they have to decide whether the company's money should be invested, how projects should be financed, and whether those investments are even worth the risk. But they also have to find the right balance between earning higher returns and avoiding unnecessary financial risk. Good financial management is going to help businesses stay profitable today, but also help them plan for the long-term growth for the future. So what exactly is sensitivity analysis? It's basically a tool that lets businesses test different what-if situations before committing to a project. So instead of them just assuming everything goes exactly according to plan, managers instead, they'll change one variable at a time to see how it'll affect the project's results. So, for example, what happens if sales are like lower than expected? What if material costs suddenly increase, or what if interest rates go up? They're basically testing every single different situation so these companies can identify which factors have the biggest impact on profitability and where the greatest risks are. Okay, so next are the quantitative factors, which are simply really financial numbers that businesses can measure. So these are going to include things like the projected sales or operating expenses, cash flow estimates, interest rates, and even like the discount rate used to evaluate investments. So companies are going to rely on tools like NPV or internal rate of return, obviously also known as the IRR. And for example, if sales drop like say by 15%, then managers can recalculate the NPV to see if investment is still worthwhile. So looking at these numbers is what's going to help companies to make more informed decisions instead of just relying on assumptions. So not every risk can obviously be measured with numbers. There's obviously different factors, and that's where qualitative factors become way more important. So businesses, they have to think about things like customer demand, changing market trends, competition, government regulations, even employee experience, because if your employees aren't happy, then your business might not be thriving either. And that can go into the company's reputation. So for example, like a project could look super great financially, but if the customer preferences change and suddenly they don't want a green fidget toy, blue fidget toys are all the rave, then the customer preferences, it's going to make a big difference. And if the competitors then just launch a better product, that investment could just not be as successful. So considering both financial data and these less measurable factors is going to give managers a much better understanding of the overall risk instead of just focusing on one or the other. Okay, so now we're going to go over internal and external risk methods. So when businesses evaluate projects, they're going to use both these methods to understand the risk. So internal methods include things like reviewing historical company data or preparing budget forecasts, analyzing the expected cash flows, and performing the scenario analysis. The scenario analysis, it's pretty simple. It's pretty similar to the sensitivity analysis, but instead of changing one variable, it changes several variables at the same time. So this can create the best case, worst case, and most likely outcomes. So rather than just changing, that this one little part costs 5 cents, let's say that it suddenly costs them 10 cents, and then something else also happens, like some machine breaks. It's just them testing multiple things all at the same time. And then external methods focus on things outside the company. So like economic conditions, inflation rates, interest rates, industry trends, market research, and even what the activity of your competitors could look like. And looking at both of these things, internal and external, that information can help companies make much better investment decisions in the long run. So, why sensitivity analysis matters. To wrap all of us up, more or less, it's just one of the most valuable tools to use in capital budgeting. No company can really predict the future perfectly. Anything could go wrong. But businesses can at least prepare for uncertainty by testing different scenarios before investing large amount of money. Sensitivity analysis, it's going to help them reduce the financial risk. It's going to help identify the variables that matter most, and it's going to give managers way more confidence in selecting their projects. So when it's combined with financial tools like IRR or NPV, in scenario analysis, companies are much more likely to invest in decisions that support long-term success. It kind of shows your investors that, hey, this could go wrong, but we're still prepared for it either way. And more or less, that is all that I have. Thank you for listening. These are my references, and I hope you learned something new.